Hi, my name is Jessica Rios, and today I'm going to be presenting on mercury pollution's effect on the environment. So to introduce the topic, chemical pollution can be defined as the introduction of chemicals into the environment whose effect can disrupt and destroy ecosystems. And as our civilization continues to advance, we continue to rely on chemicals for numerous things. This includes healthcare, medicine, transportation, agriculture, even household cleaning items, and more. And as we continue to work with chemicals, I believe it's our responsibility to ensure that these chemicals are being handled and disposed of correctly. As I mentioned, when these chemicals are released into our air, land, and water, our planet continues to be harmed, and life, including human life and wildlife, is at stake. So during my presentation, I'll be discussing how mercury continues to pollute our airs and oceans. So going into the structure, the mercury nucleus has 80 protons, 121 neutrons, and 80 electrons. Mercury is a transition metal in group 12, period 6, and D block in the periodic table. And the most examined form of mercury is methylmercury, and that's what we're going to be mainly focusing on today. Methylmercury is found in fish consumed by humans and wildlife. So specifically, methylmercury chloride, CH3HgCl, often referred to as CH3Hg, and the mercury chloride bonds in methylmercury chloride is highly covalent. And I went ahead and included a graphic that shows how methylmercury moves through from the atmosphere to the oceans, air to land, and everywhere, all over the world. So some facts: mercury is a chemical element with the chemical symbol Hg, and its atomic number is 80. Mercury pollution originates from industrial sources such as mines, power plants, and coal combustion, but it can also be released through natural processes such as volcanoes and forest fires. Mercury is released into the atmosphere, and then it begins to travel in the air to different parts of the world. Once it's in the air, mercury can be transferred from soil to water to air and linger for an extensive period of time. And some scientists have documented more than 4 years at the moment. So according to the World Health Organization, mercury is one of the top 6 toxic threats. And another fact is that the University of Michigan conducted a research study to examine how sinking fish carcasses are delivering high concentrations of mercury to the deepest ocean trenches, and many other research groups are studying this as well. I've included this graphic that shows how mercury enters the environment. You can see in the power plant and small-scale gold mining, and it goes into the water, then goes into the air, and even deposits from the atmosphere go back down into the ocean. So its relevance in social and economic standards. So the health concerns about mercury pollution affect all countries around the world. I've included this graph that shows the estimated population at risk in the most at-risk countries. So concerns usually revolve around consumption of fish contaminated with methylmercury. Once exposed, methylmercury can enter the bloodstream and can cross the blood-brain barrier and enter the brain, and this causes neurotoxicity. Methylmercury can also penetrate the placenta and impact a developing fetus. That's why many times doctors tell pregnant women not to eat high levels of a lot of fish, high volumes of fish. Health concerns surrounding mercury pollution can be classified as low-level and high-level risks. Though we often hear about high-level risks, the low-level risks are also worthy of concern. So some of these low-level risks include learning disabilities in humans, developmental delays, cardiovascular and kidney disorders, and some of those can even affect wildlife as well. And of course, mercury exposure can lead to death in both humans and wildlife. Initiatives such as the Minamata Convention on Mercury are conducting research in developing countries to estimate economic costs of mercury exposure in these communities, and that's why that graph plays into part as well. And they do believe that large economic burden could be avoided by timely implementation of measures to prevent mercury exposure. In my personal point of view, as an environmental studies student, is I do believe that mercury pollution is a larger issue than we imagine, since mercury can be traced around the whole world and has continued to affect millions of species, including humans and all sorts of wildlife. Mercury pollution exposure and contamination requires the attention from scientists and medical experts around the world. And I also believe that it's my duty to further educate myself and others on chemical pollutants that are continuing to be released into our environment, causing harm with little to no government accountability. I strongly believe that the Environmental Protection Agency and the World Health Organization need to resume an ongoing collaboration to strategize ways to reduce industrial and man-made mercury pollution or exposure of that. I've also included some sources of some interesting research studies that are being done at the moment, including the fish carcasses found in the ocean trenches, some other facts in more developing countries, and I've included the Mercury Convention as well, doing economic studies on mercury pollution. I hope my presentation did a good job at explaining this very specific topic on mercury and methylmercury's effect on the environment. And I hope to be able to educate, further educate myself and my peers as well. Thank you so much for your time.